As we start our last few pages of the booklet, we're looking at page, let me put it in pen here, 101. And looking at our first example, there's a meeting for a local Lunar New Year. Persons attending: 3 Chinese men, 4 Chinese women. Let's see what we can do here. 3 Vietnamese women, 2 Vietnamese men, and if I have another color, green, yes. 4 Korean and 2 Korean men, 4 women, 2 men. A chairperson is selected at random. Find the probability that the chairperson is Chinese. So if we add up all of our people here, we see we have 18. Now there are 4 Chinese men and, 3 Chinese men, 4 Chinese women. So that will be 7 out of 18. Now, here, when we see a Korean or a woman, the or indicates union. We're going to see that a couple of times here. And we're going to see an and here. So we can just put our union symbol in there. And then here our and will be an intersection. So that we're going to have a Korean. Well, there's going to be 4 Korean women plus 2 Korean men. But since and then now for women, we have 4, 3, that's 7, and then 4, that would be 11. But we've included these 4 already, so we would have to subtract these 4 from the 11, which are these 4 over here, and that would be over 18. So that would give us 13 out of 18. Again, we're going the long way. You might have said, well, we could have eliminated those 4 and that'd be all right. Okay, now Chinese or Vietnamese. And we're going to do a similar way here. This is union. Do letter C first. So a man. There are 2, 2, and 3. So there are 7 men. And Vietnamese, we have 3 plus 2 is 5. But again, we're including the 2 men here, so we have to subtract the 2 Vietnamese, and we then get 10 out of 18. That reduces to 5 out of 9. Now for letter D, and I'll clear this up, We want Chinese or Vietnamese. That will be union. And there are 4 women, 3 men that are Chinese, so that'll give me 7. And then from Vietnamese, we have 3 women and 2 men, that's 5. But since there is no intersection, this will give us 12 out of 18. And we can take a 6 out of each one and get 2 out of 3. Now, for letter E, we'll clear this up too. We want Korean and a woman. So Korean and a woman, there's only the 4 because it's an "and," which is intersection. So that will be 4 out of 18, which simplifies to 2 out of 9. Now in example 2, they give us this table here, and then if you read it carefully you can pause it. But then when they ask the question, the probability that the endowment lost more than 5% and was valued at 2 million, that didn't make sense, because the only one that dealt with 2 million was this 2 billion. So I believe this was supposed to have been a B here, 2 billion or more. So of course that one is this one, and 2 billion or more than 5%, and the answer they give in the back, 2, is 2 out of 201. So sometimes, if a little error creeps in there, gives you the challenge as to what can be done. In this next one, we're going to work on frequency tables, and this is page 102. And again, you want to develop a strategy to how do you do it? Well, I would suggest, again, you familiarize yourself with what they're asking. Here, this is going to be, in a sense, from 10 to 19, and a little bit more. Just getting an idea what they're all about. So, this is 20 to 29, in a sense, since they don't have all these decimal points here. And this will be, so all these 9s, it looks a little confusing, but you get the idea. Now, how are you going to order this or figure this out? Well, what I did is I put my finger right on the 22, and then I put then a tick there. 53, 29, 35, and so on. So you've worked on a way to transfer this loose data into some sort of organization. And then you're going to list your frequencies. Now this is a little different from what I see in the answer key, but I've done it twice, and this is what I got, and that was a method for doing it. And again, if you show that your work is correct and it doesn't quite agree to what the book might say, well, we're going to give you credit for that. Well, number 2 is done in a similar way. Again, I'm going to put my finger right there, and I'm going to put a tick there. Then 54, a tick there, and a 28, a tick there, and so on. Again, you want a strategy, a modus operandi, whatever Latin there. Okay, so there's example 2, and this one I agree with the answer key. Now for example 3, you see the class of interval they set up. You have to be careful as you read your numbers. Again, I put my finger here, 0.5. So where would 0.5 be? Well, right there. 0.9. 0.9 would be right there. And then 1.3, 1.3 would be right there. And then 0.4 would be right there. And so on. And as I may have mentioned before, as a teacher, we do tallies a lot. We want to see distributions, and this is the method for doing it. The idea of putting ticks, and then when you get to 5, you put a little bar, and then you end up with what your frequency is. And this one matched as well. Now, this one was right along our paths here, a stem and leaf plot, and trying to understand what they wanted. So again, what is a strategy? You want to put something of this data into the stem part, and then the leaves out here. Well, the stem part would be the first part of your data. That would be a 0 here. This would be a 2, a 1, a 2, a 2, a 0. And then developing some sort of leaf, which is the second part, so that when you looked at it, the 3 would be this 3. And then if you had a 2 there, that would refer to the item of data 3.2. I'm going to show you what I did for this so you get an idea what it's a way you might use. So I used the categories that were there, and then I took the items of data and sort of spread them out within the categories so I could put them in order. And that's what I've done. So now, when you go to do your stem, for this part here, the stem is going to be a 0. This would be a 1. This would be a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, a 6, 7, 8. So this is the stem. And then out here, that would be the 0 part. So then there would be a 0, 0, 1, 6, 8. So I will put my line there. This will be my new line here. And then I will change color. So I'm going to now put my leaves in. So this will be a 0, 0, 1, 6, 8. 0, 0, 1, 6, 8. And there's my stem. These are my leaves. So again, my stem is 1. So my leaves will be a 0, 2, 5. So 0, 2, 5, 6, 6, 8. 6, 6, 8. And so on and so forth. So this is a way, it's a little bit tedious, but to organize your data, you might be able to pick it out of the chart. But for 2 now, it's going to be 1, 3, 4, 5. 1, 3, 4, 5. And here it's going to be 3, 7. Here, 9, 9. Here, just a 7. 2, 5, 8. 2, 5, 8. A 1. And for the 8s, there was a 0. So this is your stem and leaf plot. So in your booklet would look a little bit like this. And for instance, if we wanted to look at this one, there's a 4, 9 there, and there's a 4, 9 there. 4, with the second part being the leaf. All right, let's take a look at number 2. Now, number 2, I have to admit, was a little tricky as I looked at it here. I said, wait a minute, there's a 0 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 for the stems. Well, how did it match up with the data? Well, it wasn't matching up with the data very well. Then I figured, well, this should be maybe a 0 here and a 0 there, a 0 there and a 0 there, and a 0 there. So each of these had to be 3 digits in a sense. So now we had categories of those that began with a 0, those that began with a 1, those that began with a 2, and those that begin with a 3. All right, but then I had a problem because over here there were now digits that weren't, didn't seem to fit in. How can I put single units here? Well, the key is you had to do some rounding off, and I'll show you that on the next page. So what I had to do here is something similar to what I did for example 1, 0, 1, 2, and 3. Then I wrote out the numbers in their 3-digit form, but keeping in mind that all of these were zeros here. And I had to make the rest of this data into 1 digit. Well, how did I do that? Well, I rounded this off from 29 to this middle digit, rounded it off to a 3. This one I rounded off to 4. This one I rounded off to 7. This one to 7. And this one to 9. Again, rounding up if it's 5 or more, keeping it if it's 4 or less. So in this one, here it was the 3rd digit was 3, so I kept this at 4. Now, this one was a 9. Well, let's do this one here too. This one was a 1. So 2, so I dropped that. I kept this at a 1 here. All right, this one I rounded up, and that's what I did. And then this one was a little tricky because what did this become when I rounded the 9 up 1? Well, it became a 2. So that became a 2. So, and then it was 2, 0 that you will see on the stem leaf structure. So let's look at this 2 here. This is 2, and I actually wrote it out here for you. So let's do the 0 one here. So our stem was 0. Our leaves then are 3, 4, 7, 7, 9. 3, 4, 7, 7, 9. And how did I get to them? I had to round off the middle digit. And we did that for 1. So there's my 1, 4, 9. 1, 4, 9. 1, 4, 9. Now for the 2 here, when I rounded this up to 2, I got 2, 0, which is what this one is. And then I just picked up on the others. 2, 4, 7. 2, 4, 7. So again, it took me a while to figure it out. And then the 3s then would be a 2, 5, and an 8. And this is what they have in our answer key in the booklet, and this is how we figured it out. Again, it took me a while. For our super last example in our booklet, example 3, they gave us sort of an easy one, which was nice. Again, they're showing us how it's written up. Our stem is there, our leaf is there, so this would be for 15. So again, I put these in order. I'll show it to you in a moment. And these are our categories. So a rather easy one, where the leaf will just be the second digit. The first digit would be our stem. And you're plotting a stem leaf plot. And it's relatively easy. So this will be our stem here. We can just put a line there. And then once it's in this order, we can put in our second part, which is the leaf. And here it's going to be a 4, 6. So 4, 6, 4, 6. 2, 6, 6. 2, 6, 2, 6, 6. 3, 4, 5, 9. 4, 5, 9. 4, 7, 7, 8, 9. 7, 7, 8, 9. 5 is my stem, so 6, 8, and then 4, 5. And that completes our work in just under 22 minutes.